We keep it as a surprise. That's how we maintain the element of surprise.
Got it.
You never know what bad boy's gonna do when they come for you.
But it's gonna be good when they do it.
Yes, exactly.
So to all the people that would call me a clown, buffoonish, say I'm silly, who is this kid? I walk with the faith, because mama told me so. I'm Martin Fitzgerald Lawrence.
No one could have imagined that behind Martin Lawrence's infectious laugh and meteoric rise to fame lay a story so explosive, so layered with mystery, that it would leave Hollywood insiders whispering for decades. We all remember the Martin of the 1990s, the king of comedy, the man who turned his sitcom Martin into a cultural phenomenon, the breakout star of Bad Boys alongside Will Smith. It was a golden era, one where Martin's name was synonymous with success, humor, and an untouchable energy that seemed to light up everything he touched. But as with so many stars who shine too brightly, his ascent came at a price. And that price, some say, was far darker than any of us could have imagined.
Cause it's where I started. It's my baby, you know. It's my breadwinner, you know. When I don't have nothing else to do, I can't do movies or TV or whatever. I can always go back to stand-up, and my audience is always there.
Let's go back to the beginning of Martin's rise, a rise so powerful it felt unstoppable. From his early days on Def Comedy Jam, where his razor-sharp wit and boundless charisma made him a household name, to his dominance on Fox, with Martin, Lawrence had the world at his feet. His sitcom wasn't just a hit, it was a cultural cornerstone, a show that defined an era and gave a platform to Black creatives in ways few others had before. And then came Hollywood. Movies like Bad Boys, Blue Streak, and Big Mama's House proved that Martin wasn't just a TV star, he was a box office juggernaut. By the late 1990s, Martin Lawrence was untouchable, or so it seemed. But here's the thing about Hollywood. The higher you climb, the more dangerous the fall. And for Martin, the cracks began to show in the mid-'96, when his seemingly perfect world started unraveling before our very eyes. One of the first and most shocking incidents came in 1996, when Martin was found running into traffic on Ventura Boulevard in broad daylight. Witnesses described a scene that felt ripped from a nightmare. Martin, waving his arms, shouting at oncoming cars, and reportedly yelling, "They're trying to get me." He was carrying a weapon at the time, and police had to restrain him before taking him to the hospital. Official reports chalked the incident up to exhaustion and dehydration, but was that really the whole story? Or was this the first public sign that Martin was fighting a battle far bigger than anyone knew?
Doing what I do and doing Big Mama and characters like that, Shanae or whatever. These are strong Black women, you know, and I'm a comedian, you know, and I'm not above playing a character, putting on a dress or whatever, because I'm in tune with my manhood, you know, so I know who I am, so.
Theories about that moment have swirled for years, and they only intensified when Martin collapsed again in 1999, this time slipping into a coma after jogging in extreme heat while wearing heavy layers in a plastic suit. The official story? Heat exhaustion. But for those paying attention, the coincidences were too glaring to ignore. Was Martin trying to send a message? Was he, as some conspiracy theorists suggest, a victim of Hollywood elites who wanted to silence him? After all, his 1996 outburst included the chilling phrase, "Fight the establishment." What did Martin know? What truths had he uncovered? And why wasn't anyone asking these questions back then? If the traffic incident wasn't strange enough, consider the timing of another bombshell moment in Martin's life. His falling out with Tisha Campbell, his Martin co-star and on-screen love interest. For years, their chemistry was the backbone of the show. But in 1997, Tisha stunned fans by filing a lawsuit against Martin, accusing him of harassment, verbal abuse, and unwanted advances on set. The lawsuit came just months after Martin had attended her wedding to Dwayne Martin, where he was seen smiling and mingling with guests. How could such a close bond unravel so quickly? Was it really just a case of personal misconduct? Or was something, or someone, orchestrating chaos behind the scenes?
Was there ever a point where you felt like the industry was boxed you in and they just wanted you to be the funny guy and didn't give you, like, I guess, room to grow as an actor?
Yeah, because I haven't been offered a lot of dramatic roles. You know, the closest I got a dramatic role was I had to do it myself, was thin line between love and hate.
Some have pointed to the timing of Tisha's lawsuit as suspicious, coming at a moment when Martin's career was already under intense scrutiny. Could external forces have been manipulating the situation? Hollywood is no stranger to power plays, and many believe that Martin's refusal to conform to certain industry expectations may have made him a target. After all, this was a man who had never shied away from controversy, who had built his career on pushing boundaries and saying the things no one else dared to say. Could his boldness have made him enemies in high places? Adding to the mystery is the fact that even after the lawsuit was settled and Martin came to an end, both Martin and Tisha remained tight-lipped about what really happened. Over the years, they've publicly reconciled, even appearing together for a reunion special in 2022, but the question lingers. What was the true story behind their fallout? And why did it coincide with the broader troubles in Martin's career? Some fans have speculated that Tisha's then-husband, Dwayne Martin, may have played a role in the conflict, but neither Tisha nor Martin has ever confirmed this.
In the past life, no. But the Will that I know now, I love.
Yeah.
You know, he's just a good brother.
Yeah.
And then there's the issue of Martin's alleged blacklisting. Despite his undeniable talent and box office success, his career slowed significantly after the late 90s. Sure, he still worked. Movies like Big Mama's House and Bad Boys sequels kept him in the public eye, but the frequency and intensity of his projects seemed to wane. Was this simply a natural career slowdown, or was Martin being sidelined by an industry that saw him as too unpredictable, too outspoken, too dangerous? Hollywood has a long history of quietly pushing out stars who don't play by its rules. Was Martin one of its casualties? The whispers about Martin's relationship with Hollywood only grew louder when his infamous Saturday Night Live ban came to light. In 1994, Martin hosted the show and delivered an opening monologue so controversial that it was scrubbed from all future broadcasts. The monologue included raunchy jokes about hygiene and relationships, jokes that reportedly led to hundreds of complaints and even protests from sponsors. While Martin later defended his right to free expression, the damage was done. He was banned from the show, and the incident became yet another black mark on his record. But was the ban really about his monologue? Or was it part of a larger effort to control and silence a comedian who refused to censor himself?
You need to laugh, you know, and people want to laugh. I mean, you see the sign of the times that we're in. I mean, people just really want to come out and laugh, man, and that's what we need to do. Laughter heals the world, man.
As we dig deeper into Martin's story, it's impossible to ignore the recurring theme of control, or more accurately, the lack of it. From his public breakdowns to his legal troubles, to the controversies that seemed to follow him at every turn, Martin's life has often been portrayed as chaotic and out of control. But what if the chaos wasn't entirely of his own making? What if Martin Lawrence, the man who made us laugh until we cried, was fighting battles we couldn't see? Battles against an industry that thrives on power and manipulation. Even now, as Martin enjoys a quieter life at 60, questions about his past linger. He's spoken about finding peace, about enjoying the fruits of his labor and focusing on family, but the mysteries of his career, the sudden collapses, the lawsuits, the rumors of conspiracies, remain unresolved. What really happened to Martin Lawrence, and why, after all these years, does it feel like we're only scratching the surface?
Do you think that do you think the appetite for stand-up is the same as it used to be?
Yeah, if you're still hungry.
Or,
You know, if you're still hungry, yeah, and I'm still hungry.
As Martin Lawrence's career reached its peak, the cracks behind the scenes grew wider, and tensions on the set of Martin became impossible to ignore. While the show was a ratings juggernaut, the environment on set was far from harmonious. Rumors of strained relationships between Martin and his co-stars, particularly Garrett Morris and Carl Anthony Payne, began to swirl. At first, these whispers seemed like the typical hiccups of any high-pressure production, but as time went on, the stories became harder to dismiss. Garrett Morris, the seasoned actor who played Stan Winters, once hinted at the toxic atmosphere during interviews, suggesting that Martin's rising power on the show created friction. Meanwhile, Carl Anthony Payne, who played Cole, was rumored to have clashed with Martin over creative differences and accusations of favoritism. By the time the 5th season rolled around, many believed that Martin's growing influence as an executive producer had led him to isolate himself from the rest of the cast. Was Martin becoming paranoid, or had his success made him believe he couldn't trust anyone around him? And if so, was this paranoia entirely unwarranted?
So I went home, I said, Mom, people lashing out, and usually I don't say nothing. You know, I want to, go to these because I'm from the neighborhood. But my mother said, baby, you you know how it is. From the neighborhood, you won't wait outside the door. Well, when they coming outside, you know? So my mother said, nah, baby, think of the time.
The on-set drama came to a head when Tisha Campbell filed her lawsuit against Martin, claiming harassment and creating a hostile work environment. But Garrett Morris's sudden departure from the show also raised eyebrows. Was it a coincidence, or were the tensions on set too much for even a seasoned professional like Garrett to endure? Carl Anthony Payne reportedly described the dynamic as chaotic and unpredictable with Martin's behavior. We can't forget that Martin wasn't just a sitcom. It was a cultural phenomenon that gave Martin Lawrence unprecedented visibility and influence. And as we've seen time and time again in Hollywood, not everyone is thrilled when a black entertainer reaches that level of power. Could it be that Martin's growing success made him a target? Was there a deliberate effort to fracture his relationships with those around him and paint him as difficult to work with? It's worth noting that similar dynamics played out with other high-profile stars who dared to challenge the status quo. Was Martin's fall from grace orchestrated, or was it simply the result of a perfect storm of personal struggles and professional pressures?
This world ain't supposed to be like this. This is all wrong. We fight, and we're fighting for the wrong things. Everybody measures success in having a car, having a big house. But success is measured in your happiness. Because if you ain't happy, it don't mean a damn thing. And you are happy, bruh.
Fast forward to today, and Martin's recent comments about enjoying the fruits of his labor seem to hint at a man who has found peace. But has he really? At 60, Martin has quietly stepped away from the limelight, choosing smaller roles and family-friendly projects over the high-stakes blockbusters that once defined his career. On the surface, it looks like a well-earned retirement, but we can't help but wonder, is there more to the story? Could lingering health issues or the trauma of his past scandals be driving his decision to step back? Or is it something even more chilling? But what about the projects that never saw the light of day? Martin's career is littered with whispers of lost films and reboots, projects that were teased, announced, and then mysteriously shelved. One of the most infamous examples is the rumored Shanae and Wanda spinoff, a buddy comedy featuring Martin's iconic Martin character, Shanae Jenkins, and Jamie Foxx's Wanda from In Living Color. Announced with great fanfare in 2009, the project was supposed to bring two of comedy's most outrageous characters together for a big screen adventure. But after the initial buzz, the project vanished. Was it abandoned due to creative differences, or was it quietly buried because Hollywood execs didn't trust Martin to carry another major production?
If you've ever stretched out the word damn to 4 or 5 times its normal length, you probably have our first guest to thank. He is a TV, movie, and stand-up comedy legend, coming soon to your city on the Y'all Know What It Is tour. Please welcome the artist formerly known as Shanae, Martin Lawrence.
And that's just the tip of the iceberg. There were rumblings of a Martin reboot in the early 2020s, with fans clamoring to see the beloved cast reunite for a new chapter of the iconic sitcom. But despite the nostalgia-driven success of other reboots, this one never got off the ground. Some speculated it was due to lingering tensions between cast members, while others pointed to behind-the-scenes politics. Could Martin's reputation as unpredictable have played a role, or was the industry hesitant to give him another platform after all the controversies that had dogged his career? Even more intriguing are the unconfirmed reports of Martin being passed over for roles in major films during his prime. Industry insiders have claimed that Martin was in talks for several high-profile projects in the late 90s and early 2000s films that ultimately went to other stars. One particularly juicy rumor suggests Martin was considered for a lead role in a major franchise, only to be dropped after his 1996 public breakdown. Was his past being used against him? And if so, who was making those decisions? It's hard not to see this pattern as part of a larger effort to sideline Martin during a time when his star power should have been unstoppable.
There are stories about you. I want to run some of these by you and see if you can tell me, confirm or deny or whatever you want to do.
These lost opportunities add another layer of intrigue to Martin's story. What might his career have looked like if these projects had gone forward? Would he have cemented his status as one of Hollywood's most bankable stars? Or would the same forces that seemingly worked to derail him have found another way to keep him out of the spotlight? It's a haunting question, one that underscores the idea that Martin's career wasn't just shaped by his choices, but by an industry that may have been quietly pulling the strings behind the scenes. For years, conspiracy theorists have speculated that Martin's infamous public breakdowns in the 90s were not just cries for help, but warnings. Warnings about the hidden truths he may have uncovered during his rise to fame. Hollywood, as we know, has a long history of burying secrets, and Martin's outbursts about fighting the establishment suggest he may have stumbled upon something that put him in danger. Could his decision to retreat from the spotlight be a form of self-preservation? Is Martin staying quiet to protect himself and his family from retribution?
I'm having a great
In a good
time.
way, it feels like the first
in
time.
a good way. And the people are coming out, my fans, and showing me so much love. I can't ask for much.
Adding another layer to this mystery is his relationship with Will Smith, his co-star in the Bad Boys franchise. The two were once thought to be inseparable, brothers on and off screen, but over the years, rumors of a growing rift between them have emerged. Some believe it started with simple creative differences, while others suggest it goes much deeper. Could Martin's alleged knowledge of scandals tied to Hollywood power players have strained their friendship? And if so, what does that say about the industry's ability to keep even its biggest stars in line? And let's not forget that Martin has always been a disruptor, a comedian who built his career on saying the things others were too afraid to say. It's no stretch to imagine that the same fearlessness may have made him a liability in an industry that thrives on control. And while Martin has remained tight-lipped about his experiences, his silence speaks volumes. Could it be that Martin knows something we don't? Something that keeps him from fully re-entering the Hollywood machine? And if he does, what would happen if he finally decided to tell the world?
And Martin stopped me on the first day, and he was like, hey, come here. And I said, what? He said, I just want you to know I love you, man. Right? And I was like, yeah, you know, all love, brother, all love. He said, no, right here. And I looked, and he was like, I love you, man.
The idea that Martin Lawrence's struggles were simply the price of fame feels almost too convenient. When we piece together the timeline of his career, the public breakdowns, the legal battles, the on-set tensions, the abrupt slowdown, it's hard not to see a pattern that suggests Martin's journey wasn't just about personal challenges, but about surviving an industry that has shown time and time again that it will discard even its brightest stars if they step out of line. As we look back on everything Martin has endured, one question lingers. What does Martin Lawrence truly know? Is it possible that the same industry that once made him a household name also tried to tear him down? Or is the truth even more unsettling than we're prepared to admit? Let us know your thoughts in the comments, and don't forget to hit that like button if you want us to dig deeper into Hollywood's most chilling secrets. Until next time, stay curious and remember, in the world of fame and power, nothing is ever as it seems, becoming more erratic as the seasons progressed. But here's where things take an even darker turn. Some insiders believe that Martin's alleged isolation was not entirely self-inflicted. Could external forces have been deliberately stoking tensions to destabilize the show and, by extension, Martin himself?